Good evening, viewers from all over the world. Thank you. Welcome to the Talking Drum Show. As we like to say, this is a world that's divided by differences, boundary lines of, states, the colors of flags, belief systems and views. But these are commonalities to every body of people all over the world. What helps us to bridge those gaps, what connects our common humanity, is talking about things, talking about issues. A talking drum would like to believe that it's an opportunity for us to dive deeply into the issues that bother us and hopefully find connections to our common humanity. Welcome to this episode of the Talking Drum Show. With me today is my co-host and producer, Masig Mark from Milan. And we will be talking about, and also I can see Mr. George Chukwu, welcome, joining us from Toronto. We'll be talking about and discussing on the very important phenomenon, a global one for that matter, on the awakening, the rising of political consciousness in the youth of the land and how that impacts changes in the political dynamics of the country any country where this is happening. Particularly more so given the ongoings in our own country, Nigeria, where the general elections for 2023 are still ongoing. The youth came out in March to express their wish for a new leader, a new president, and so far, that is still the outcome of that election is still being hotly disputed and contested in every quarter, given the perception of irregularities in the conducting of the election. Welcome, gentlemen. You've had the issue on the table today before us. It's a very important one because, of course, if you look at the demographic of any country, especially developing countries, the youth is always the population profile is often a triangle with the elderly at the top, narrow top, and the base being made up of the young. This is nowhere more true than in Nigeria, where they say we have the highest population of youth in the world. And so, because the young people will, of course, represent change, when this powerful demographic, come into politics, they often don't do, but when it means there will be a tectonic, seismic change in the way things are done. It will no longer be business as usual. And this, of course, is probably what is going to shake the dynamic in Nigeria as we know it. And this is what is happening now. Mr. George, your opinion on this?
To come and discuss this issue with you once again. My name is George Chukwu, all the way from Toronto. Today we are just discussing the transitional issues that are taking place around the world between the elderly and the what we call the elderly statesmen, politicians, and the youths in our communities. So in a special way with Nigeria, it is very, very important, even in the dynamics of the home, most of the time you see a child growing up The father raised him up, would send him to school, and they go to school more than likely, most of the time, they grab new knowledge, technology, and come back. And when they're trying to, enlighten the parents, they look at them like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're my son. Therefore, you should not be telling me how to do things. So this is what we are seeing in
Yep. Yep.
Nigeria right now. And in the past, it took place. We saw when Nigeria in the 60s, when after our independence, we saw also that the same narratives that we're discussing today took place, where a lot of young generals and young youths were disenfranchised, from participating in the governance of our country, and they took laws into their hands, which what we're praying that it never happens again. And in the political landscape in Nigeria, we have seen a lot of that happen. Youths are being abused. They're only used, most of the time for thuggery or for, bringing a lot of youths into the system. But right after that, they are just, left behind. So now again, the difference in this particular time is simply because in the past, it was enough for the youth to go to school, find a job, start their own family. They are concentrating on raising the family. But right now, most of our youths are home. 5 years after graduation, no jobs, and there is nothing they can do. So you are
And
seeing what is going on.
Unemployment in double digits. Yeah.
Unemployment
Yeah.
is massive in
Unemployment
Nigeria
is
among the
I was just
youths.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
40%.
one of the
Yeah.
major problems that we are having right now is originally the youths have given up on political system in Nigeria because they believe that it is corrupt and it can never affect them positively. But for the very first time in a long time since democracy came into Nigeria, someone came along that was able to convince them, we're able to do it again. Come out, vote, let your voices be heard. Throw in your own so that we can be able to select somebody who will be out there to help us, in what we're going through. And once again, there has been an alleged, all kinds of things that took place, which is not also favoring the youths. So that's where we are today. So I really thank you both, Massive Mark and Dr. Okafor, for inviting me on this talk show. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you. Your contributions were very insightful and very helpful. I hope our viewers would reach and let us. Massive Mark, I know you were in Europe, where the principles and philosophies of the democratic process are highly developed and been practiced for quite a while. Is there any semblance of this phenomenon where they change? The way I like to look at it and like to put it is this: the political spectrum is right to left, left to right, whichever way direction you're coming from, and right, representing conservatism.
That's correct.
The yeah, the principles of power and privilege belonging to those who are, core members, the traditionalists of a society.
That's correct.
Extreme formalism and all. Democratic polity, you refer to them as the right, and the left is those people believe that the fat of the land, the freedoms of the land, is equally attributable to all comers. And the tendency, therefore, in a polity that is growing and increasingly giving political empowerment to its youth is for things to shift to the left. Because, of course, youths are people who are very, open-minded, liberal in their disposition, disconnected from traditions, and do not really care about bigotry of the past and all that. So as the youthful population become politically active in any polity where the youths, like I said, occupy the base of the population profile, the larger base, then the tendency is for that polity to shift towards the left, away from the privileged plutocracy of the right and the past. But in Europe, I know your population, profile is it's like a rectangle. because of low
Thank you.
birth rate and long life expectancy. And so you have a rectangle. There's many people at the top as at the bottom, right?
That's
And
correct.
so I don't know whether you find this phenomenon existing in Europe, in your own view.
Yes. It's universal. Political system has to have good representation, and for that to happen, all parts of the society must be included. When young people are disenfranchised or disengaged from political
Yeah,
process, a significant portion of that population has little or no voice. It's a problem. It's a serious problem. So what we are talking about today is essential because also our what we've laid down as uh, um, the key sample of our discussion is Nigeria. Nigeria is where you have the youth not being very engaged in politics, but all of a sudden, 2023 and the election has created an awakening, and there's a realization on them now
yeah,
to be part of governance, and that's great, that's awesome. So, but the problem now is
yeah,
the right, like you said, you gave a very good description of the how politics work in Europe and in most part of the Western world. The right and the left, and now sometimes you have the center. In Italy, for example, there is a center party too. So the center is mainly those that have a little
yeah.
bit of the right
Neither
ideology,
right nor left. Yeah,
a little bit of the left ideology. So, but the problem now in
liberal
Nigeria,
conservatism. Yeah, yeah,
yes, the problem now in Nigeria is these youths that have come to an awakening, a realization of their life, the politics and everything, are now being somehow not encouraged to come in. They are being, I mean, the powers that have been are pushing them back. They are pushing them back. So
yeah.
the young people need to engage in
Yeah,
formal
I'll
processes and
yeah,
stay in it, even till tomorrow. They need to. So, but when you have a situation like
yeah,
George said,
yeah,
where they are being disenfranchised, where they are being disengaged from this political process, then there is a problem,
yeah.
and that's what we're
There's a big
witnessing.
problem. Yeah, and I think
And
that's what
also,
George was alluding to. You see, sorry, George, very quickly, just to tie in what you guys had just said,
Mhm.
the problem we face in this kind of situation is that we run the risk of violence and
Mhm.
disruption in the polity. He referred
Mhm.
to the military, young military officers, majors mostly, during the 19, January 15, 1966 coup in Nigeria, which of course led down the road to perdition. And the civil war lasted 3 years and claimed 1 million lives.
Mhm.
The issue is when you find the natural expression of youthful political will and zeal, any attempt to suppress that, and this is what the message you have to pass out there, any attempt to suppress that and not to attend to it, when you have the counter reactionary measures taken by the powers that be, will lead to a disruption of the peace and
Absolutely.
well-being of society. We saw this in effect powerfully and most recently during the Arab Spring
Yes.
event of 2010 to 2012. When the youth woke up and said
Yes.
they wanted, I think the chant then was the people would topple the regime all over the Arab world, starting from Tunisia. And it ended up with a lot of disruption. Some governments were changed, there were civil wars after that, society was disrupted, massive violence, killing, and all that. So this is something I'm calling the Nigerian Spring. And it's important that we do not allow this to degenerate because the youth have expressed their will. It is a democracy. Democracy, by definition, means that people's political will expressed through their votes
That's
matter.
correct. That's
And when you want to take that back, yeah, through the powers of of the existing status quo and regime that have never benefited anybody, you are creating room for massive unrest.
Massive unrest. Yes. I don't know. George wanted to
Yeah,
say something. George was. Can I?
Yeah,
yeah,
part of what I wanted to actually say is that the youth usually were not ignored in the political system in Nigeria. They were only being used
Mm,
during the political campaigns.
mm,
That's what they say we
yeah.
need to get a youth leader. Then the youth leader will now go to the universities, convince some of his friends and followers, and they will come and actually they will clamor to get the whoever the candidate is elected. Now after that, sometimes they will grease the pocket of this youth leader or a few of them and then send them on their way. In the actual governance of the country or the states or even the local governments, they're not involved. And sometimes after the whole entire electoral process, you can't even reach the person that you voted into the power anymore. So that is what is happening today. Now
Oh
the
yeah,
youth gave
no,
up for a long time. They gave up. They didn't trust the political system in Nigeria because they have seen the godfatherism, recycling of leadership, within the same group of people. Look at what is happening in the Nigerian Senate today. They're looking for a Senate president. Look at the quality of people they are bringing into that place. Now, you tell me if it's not recycled type of government, a Milacon type of situation, is my turn type of situation. That's not a democracy. That is basically selection, not election. And that's what we have been practicing in Nigeria. And that narrative must change because it's going to be a paradigm shift. If care is not taken, things, like what we're looking at right now, some of these youths that are unable to find a place to work, to get food on the table, it's time to get married, you don't have money to get married, it's time to get your own condominium or your own apartment, or you have no money, you're still shacking with your parents. What do you expect these youths, with all the intelligence and the strength and the power that they have to do? So we need to wake up in Nigeria. If
so I
we
think,
do not,
yeah,
it's going to be like
I think
another, like
okay,
what you call the Nigerian Spring.
yeah,
yes. So, but
yeah,
what I want to add to that, Dr. Okafor, yes,
yeah,
it's a sad situation happening there, but there's something also the youth need to know. Nothing good comes easy.
yeah,
There is this attitude they have. I notice as much as I engage with them, and that is that attitude of withdrawing when you make a first strike. When you make a first strike and you don't succeed, you don't withdraw. You don't go back and say, "No, I'm not doing it again. I'm out of this. I can't." But this will keep putting that
give up.
person, that youth, in the no in the at the back end. So it needs to be told that the youth need to realize that this is their life and they need to fight for it. I mean, not fight as in go out
No,
for war. I mean, be determined, be resilient, and push through. Don't allow one strike because something didn't go right the first strike. Then I have to. I mean, we had some youths are tearing their PVC. Some youths are losing. They said they are not voting
the
again in
protest.
Nigeria. Now that's what we don't do. That's what we don't do. We
Yeah,
need to stand up again, say, yes, this is it. And the interesting thing is this, Dr. Okafor, Sir George. Do you know on the 25th of February, the youth made a point. They took a stand. They made a voice. Now, interestingly, that voice is not, it hasn't been taken off. It's still echoing. That voice is still there. You see, all we
yeah,
need to do now is watch and see how our voice gets the result we want, and it will get the result we want. So, but the youth need to understand consistency, hanging on, staying put, pushing your way through. and not allowing one strike, a failure of one strike to deter them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll take it from this angle. First off, what where George was coming from about the fact that in the old days, or the recent past, but in the old way of doing things, business as usual way of doing things, they would call the youths, they'll bribe them, they will give their votes, and then they will go away, and after that, the elected members of leadership would completely sever any relationship with them. That is what we are saying has changed.
Yes.
What we are saying has changed is that because of the galvanizing effect of one or two players in the new electoral dispensation, just the same way Obama did in America in 2008, there is an awakening. There is a political revival in youth. Because the reason why they don't do anything before, like Sir George was saying, is because it's just they know nothing will come out of their votes. So it's actually a very small percentage of youth that get involved, just a little bit of party, call it party groupies, people who follow the party around just to make some money every election. These are professional, party chasers. That is not what we are saying now. Now there's an awareness, an awakening, a revival of political interest in that massive demographic in Nigeria, the youths. They are aware now. They all went and registered most of them went and registered for their PVC. A lot of them were not given in a very ugly process of disenfranchisement, and they came out massively to vote. This, now coming to what you're saying, cannot be killed. This is not something you might see some people tearing their PVC in any part of the world, anytime, in any issues of human whatever. You get people who protest. Some people put flame on their body and burn themselves. Not everybody is dying. So that is not to say that is the trend of the ground. The major trend, the main trend of the ground. A lot of people here are locked and loaded to go and vote again. What is important, what is vital, is that they understand the system. Stakeholders understand that this force will keep coming at you. The youth have been woken up. The Kraken has been unleashed. It will keep coming. And what happens after that depends on how much the system resists or allows it to have its course, have its way and its will. And that's the warning that needs to be put out there. The Arab Spring has ended up in what we now call the Arab winter, the winter of discontent. Because, of course, the regimes resisted, and what we expected, which was the democratization of a lot of the Arabs, it did not occur, only just in a few like Tunisia. But most people resisted. It ended up with civil war. It led to the rise of ISIS. It led to destruction and mayhem, which is still ongoing today. So we are saying that when you have a situation, a phenomenon like this, it is to be handled like dynamite, because it could lead to ugliness. The youth will not give up. Once you wake it up, they won't give up. So you have no worry about that. The people burning their eyes doesn't reflect what is happening out there. They are angry. They want their rights back. And the managers of the system need to be careful. Yes. That's the message. Stakeholders, managers, people who are in charge need to listen. The elders of thought, they need to listen and understand that we are stepping into a very dangerous zone. If we don't do the right thing and allow the wishes of the people to be expressed properly through proper processes, without resorting to violence at the end may be what we get. This is the reason we are having this talk today.
Yes, and let me add this again, Dr. Dumemi. Also, there are two divides to this whole discussion. One part is the youth being involved in politics, as in being involved, and another part is making policy and being part of the policy. Policy makers. So that's another angle the youth need to tread into, the angle of being part of the policymakers and not just going along with in a party as in party. So we need the youth to understand the rudiments, the essence of politics. Politics has its structure. Politics has its way. So, but one thing the youth do so well is the pressure group kind of thing, we know go agree, we know go agree. We know go agree. That has been going on for too long in Africa. The youth have been involved in that. Now, it is also good they understand how to be
Activism.
part of activism. It's good they understand how to be part of the real policy making. So we have to encourage them, and understanding being part of the policy making also brings in that talk of being resilient and hanging on, staying put.
Yeah.
So we need more
Yeah.
youth. I mean, George was talking of the House of Senate with all these recycled politicians, and that's because even though the youth, some of them might have tried, but they back out when some of them can't stand the heat. But you need to stand the heat and get in there. So this is
Massima, I don't think it's as an issue of standing. It's an issue of assets.
Let me just say something.
It's an issue of assets. George, you might want to come in here.
Yeah, let me just say something. What the politics in Nigeria has done to the youths is, we're seeing that a lot of them, what they have done is like a country club type of thing, members only. We don't tell you the secrets of what we do. We come, we make promises to you. So, and then once we get in, we have, the power to excuse ourselves from those promises that we have made to you. So that's what politics in Africa at large has been. But right now, for the very first time in the political corridor of Nigeria, a man came out to educate the people on the processes of politics, the way it's supposed to be done. I'm going to tell you what I want to do, but also I will tell you the steps I will take to reach that goal that I'm establishing. It's not coming to shout, I will give you jobs, I will give you this, I will do this for you, I will build roads. So how are you going to do that? So that is the difference. The reason why youth came out this time is simply because they were being enlightened in the secrets of what has been hidden from the general populace. They are being enlightened that somebody is coming to tell them, okay, there are questions you have not asked before. The oil that we are selling in the international market, you have no clue what is going on. He broke it down and let you know that only 10% of that oil we sell in the international market goes into the coffers of the government. The rest of them are stolen. He broke it down to let them know that this particular oil that we are talking about is not just for them, it is your inheritance. Because if we can put everything together, put that money that we're supposed to be making together, you will not be going through what you are going through today. So that's exactly the difference, the encouragement through enlightenment. Information is very, very important when it comes to success. But the degree and the type of information you receive will determine your degree of success. So now they came, they make promises and they go. And nobody questions them. There is no accountability. There is no responsibility. All they do is they promise and go and continue to, take the money and put it into their pockets and govern the way they want. But the youths are being enlightened. Questions are coming out. So now that's one of the things that we are seeing. Why we know now, like Dr. Kafo, you said, they are not stopping and they will not stop, because all of a sudden they're knowing the internal conversations that has been hidden from the public. They're understanding it. They're looking at the whole equation as us, not them and us anymore. They will not stop. And that's why we're doing this show, to encourage them. Because what has happened, how many House of Representatives did the Labour Party, did they get this time? I think somebody was saying about 50.
Yeah, they did very well. Very well.
Just okay. Can you just, Dr. Kafa, just imagine that? Look at the person running for the gubernatorial, one of the gubernatorial candidates in Lagos State. He's a young man. Listen to him. Something is happening in the country. Something is changing in the mindsets of the people. Their minds are being renewed. So we will never give up. And we are the same way that they just elected about 50 members in the House. They need to go and increase that number through the gubernatorial to elect governors. Because when you find people that are looking in the same direction together, then all of a sudden the old system will wash away. The new system will take place. So the youths, you are being encouraged. Get out there, get that PVC, listen to the candidates, the gubernatorial candidates, hear them. What are they promising to do? If you like what they are doing, go and vote your conscience. Your future is at stake. You cannot continue to be dormant anymore. You cannot continue to sit at home on the day of election. You go and play soccer on the field. Now is your time, youths of Nigeria. It's time to wake up. And this is it.
Yeah, so it's, Mr. George, thank you so much for your contribution. It's understandable that you and a lot of people would like to really, hold the necks of the historical forces that have, perceived the whole Nigeria down, and really get upset about this, and give your 2 cents when you talk about it. But I prefer really to see it as a maturation of the democratic process in Nigeria. Is what the Third Republic has been, 23 years, a pretty short time compared to hundreds of years in terms of America. And I think we are getting there. The way I put it, the way I like putting it, is that we are expanding our spectrum. It's easy to understand it when you see it as being Nigeria was always on the right. There was no middle, there was no left. Now, in the course of developing, that spectrum is extending as it should be, so that we now have a proper left. The politics of inclusion, the politics of inclusivity, where nobody's right is not important, away from the privileges and entitlement of the right. So it helps to see it this way. It's a maturation process. So we don't need to dwell on what has happened and the way it's been, but we have to now be aware that the Nigerian political scape has developed properly a left, in which people can now say, I am to the left of the political system. I don't believe in a few oligarchs holding on to resource and doling out what they like to people who they prefer. But I have a politics where the leader is a servant to the people, and the people are actually leading through him, which is what is happening today. So it's a cause for celebration in that maturation process. Because if it stays like this, then we have a good balance, as you have in other democratic domains, where we have people who can tomorrow say, no, I prefer the right. That's what democracy is about. Democracy is not about everybody being in one boat. Democracy is about numbers. At the end of the day, when you have counted the votes, the principle is that the majority will rule the day, and even the minority that didn't vote for along with that majority will accept that rule for the next 4 years or so. And this is what we must understand, and this is what everybody, citizens, stakeholders, the leaders of thought and action, this is what we must all contribute to, ensuring that it's sustainable. Because what is bringing out the youth's revival, the awakening politics, because we now have a left. We now have a left that we can relate to and believe in and say, this left will take care of my needs, not the feudal rights. where the privileges of the land only go to a few selected people. So this is how I like to see it: the maturation, the growing, the improvement, the evolution of the Nigerian political and democratic process, and it's a good thing. What is left now is for everybody to work towards ensuring that the wishes of the people, as expressed through the electoral process, is not hijacked by that right, which has always been used to being the one that are entitled to power in Nigeria. And it's very important that the sanctity of the people's will, is preserved at all times.
Yeah, and also look at it, just to add to what you're saying. It used to be so easy for a politician who is not getting what they who are not getting what they want from a political system to jump to the other party. You saw the exodus that took place when APC won. All the Democrats, all the PDP members, all crossed over. Most of them were corrupt because they did not want to be finger pointed or to be prosecuted, and because there was no ideological differences between the two parties.
Exactly.
There was none. Everybody it was all about what I can get out of the whole system. Let me get my own piece of the pie type of politics in Nigeria. So now, if you have been part of the corrupt system in one party and all of a sudden the other party wins, in order not to be prosecuted, you jump over easily because there is no difference. You can even survive on both waters, both left and right. And there was really no left. There was no left. It was only one right with two portions. So you jump from right to right. Left side of the right, and on right side of the right. So 100%. That's the problem that we have had. But right now, I am so thankful because the saddest problem, the saddest thing about this whole opportunity that has been given to our leader is so sad that finally, he was supposed to vindicate himself through this process. He was supposed to be a champion of democracy in the world spectrum, in the stage where everybody would have respected him, in spite of all the bad governance and all the corruption under his administration and all the messes. No money, no food, no oil, nothing. He would have vindicated himself finally if he had actually insisted that this particular new system that we have gotten was done right. But I can tell you one thing, the saddest part of it is that he now swimming into the same ocean of corruption by allowing the system to go the way that he went. He had the power to stop it, but he did not. Because, and today it is so sad that he will go down as the worst administrator in Nigeria because of this. He got a few days. If he wants to exonerate himself, and that particular individual who is heading the INEC, it is so sad that this man would have been an angel flying all over the world, would have been respected all over the globe. They would have been calling him to come and speak on. He went to Chatham House. He was promising all over. Then after the election, he intentionally and deliberately shut off the system in order for this manipulation to take place. We don't have to hide the truth. It is exactly what happened. Now he got the impetus to come again and start making the same promises he made almost in November, in Chatham House. Again, these people do they not have any shame? I just don't understand it. The world is watching.
But I understand your
let me add also. Let me add to what you were saying initially. Yes, part of the iteration.
I need to say this. Sorry, okay. I need to say this. That can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
Yeah, it's understandable. It's understandable. This expression of disappointment. But the topic for today is the political consciousness of the youth. So we don't get carried away from that. We don't have a lot of time. We are dealing with the importance, the pros and cons of political awakening in the young people as we are seeing it in Nigeria today. That is the focus. So we should try and stay on topic so we can do as much justice as possible. I think it's about 4 or 5 minutes left.
Yes. So
We
adding to
have
what you
a lot to do. We have a
yes.
yes, we have a lot of work to do in Nigeria, and the only way we can talk through them is by talking on them specifically. Yes,
Yes, very good.
go
Thank
ahead.
you. Yes, adding to what you were saying initially, Dr. Dumebi, this
Yeah,
this awakening and this whole thing that is happening. One thing also,
yeah,
like George said, one thing that will be happening soon is parties will now have ideology, which is a very good, yes,
yeah,
very good
yeah.
opening. Um,
It's yeah,
Previously, we've not parties don't have
it's a positive
everybody's just
development.
floating, no ideology, and that was what killed our politics. In fact, the white people were laughing at us because they
Yeah,
noticed that too. So now with this awakening in the youth and this right forming now, the left that is forming, soon we'll also have the extreme rights and the extreme lefts and the center too. And with all
hmm,
these ideologies, but parties will now have goals and ideologies, and that's good. Now, one thing that we should also say to the youth as we move on into this awakening is um, when we have this structure, we stick to it. Like in the West, when a party member is in a party, they don't float, they don't rigmarole and bounce back and forth. They stay. You see, one man has been in a party for all his life, and his children probably continues on that in that line. So that was why I was talking of sticking to itiveness. That's passive, staying on, not bouncing. And that comes from the mindset. If a mindset is not still, is not settled, is thinking that's when you be bouncing back and forth. So this new awakening is creating is creating a party structure that as it used to be, political party structure in a democratic setting. And soon there will be parties with
yeah,
ideologies, with goals, with aims, with beliefs, and we need to just stay there. I'm scared. We talked about LP, Labour Party. One thing that has happened is these guys will go into the house now. Now we have close to some of them, sizable number, but we want to see them stay with LP all through the 4-year term, and not begin to decamp PDP again, APC. So stay with your LP, stay with that vision, stay with that plan. So this is it. This is what we're saying. We don't want them to go there. Sooner or later, you probably will begin to read in the paper. This LP man in from South Baba has now decamped. I mean that happened with some party in the past, but we hope it doesn't happen again. We pray
yeah,
it doesn't happen. We need to get it right, and we need to
yeah,
get it right once and for all. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Maybe just
yeah. George,
in what you were
I see
just
you on the
saying
top.
now,
Yeah,
I am just so thankful, what you mentioned, which
yeah,
is very, very important, that this is a process. It's a progressive move. We've entered
yeah,
and it is progressing. People are getting educated. People are getting enlightened. People are understanding the processes and the way the system works. Like what
yeah.
Massive Mark is saying also
Massive.
is the fact that when you have been indoctrinated into a system, if you are a conservative, stay where you are. If you are a liberal, stay where you are. If you like to be governed from top to bottom, stay right there. If your conviction is that you govern from bottom to up, stay where you are. That way the political system will have an equilibrium, a balance, so that we will have people on both sides that can actually be able to have a discourse and say, I'm coming from this angle, let me convince my people that this is the way I want to govern, and vice versa. So that is really the thing that is different in our political system, because it has been bastardized and messed up. So youths are now being enlightened. I'm telling you, it is such an enlightening thing for me, and my heart is so just so happy because of this system that we are entering into right now, Nigeria will end up being a country that other countries will come to learn how democracy works. It will end up being that way. And all glory to the youths of Nigeria, because you guys have started this and you will end it in a very good note. That's it.
Amen.
Go out and vote for your governors that you want to bring that thing that has convicted you in your heart, that you know this is the way things ought to be. Let us move to this new system and continue with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're in the last stretch. I just want to say that I hope they've been listening, and everybody has, as much as possible, participated with us, even though we can't see them, leaders and followers alike. My prayer is that the leaders will hear this and also listen to other people, other voices in the wilderness that are advising for, propriety, probity, and purity in the process, especially in the upcoming elections that are still are yet to go on Saturday. You were very clear in your vituperation, your anger, and I hope the commander-in-chief has heard you and will take steps to glean from what is left of his time some measure of political redemption by insisting and marshalling the forces of good still present in the system to do the right thing for the rest of this general election process. And our message to the youths is that violence only begets violence. There is a proper way of expressing your anger, your will, and your political preferences, and that is always the path of due process and peaceful conduct. Go out there, exercise your votes within the limits of safety that is allowed and that is present, and leave the rest to the forces of good and evil in the ever-continued battle, as it's ever been raging through the universe and through time, to do the rest. I believe that Nigeria is a good country, and I believe that we are people who want the best for ourselves. And I believe that ultimately, through this maturation process, we'll get to the promised land. Thank you both. And thank you, viewers. Kindly join us again. Yeah, thank you for another round of talks on the Talking Drum next Tuesday at the same time. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye all.